AmigaZone es un podcast en donde nos reunimos algunas amigas para hablar de todo lo que hablamos en fiestas de reuniones, pero con un toque muy de AmigaZone. Acompáñanos cada viernes con un nuevo capítulo y nuevas aventuras.
Muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos un día más en su programa que es
AmigaZone.
Mi nombre es Daisy Mendoza,
Carolina Rodríguez
y Verónica Valderrama.
Este día tenemos una invitada muy especial para nosotros. Ella es nuestra profesora de inglés y mentora de cuando estábamos en high school o la preparatoria.
Un poquito de años atrás.
Sí. Su nombre es Susan Kohi. En esta ocasión tendremos una dinámica un poquito diferente. Vamos a sacar de ese cajón nuestro inglesazo.
Sí.
Ella dice que va a intentar un poco hablar en español, pero la entrevista la vamos a hacer en inglés, así es que recuerden, como dijo Celia Cruz, tal vez nuestro inglés is not very good looking, pero vamos a intentarlo, vamos a hacer lo mejor posible. First of all, I would like to thank you for being here with us today. We're very happy.
Yeah.
It's an honor.
We're so happy.
We would love to hear your story and your experience being an English teacher. And we know you are retired already, but we would like to know first, how are you?
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Getting older and older, but good. Thank you.
Same as us.
I know, because it's been a long time without
I know.
Well, yes, thanks to Facebook, we keep in touch all the time. But what I can remember is been like 6 years since I have seen.
Yeah, she was here in my baby shower.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that.
Right, yes.
Yeah, she's always, we try to do, keep in touch with her and all this stuff. But yes, she's always on parties and things like that with us. And we really thank you for that, because honestly, it's just one of the things that I'm just like so happy to share with the rest of the people that you are actually, like, you were my teacher, you were my mentor, and now you are my friend, and it's amazing to have that kind of relationship with your teachers.
It's one of the gifts that you get when you teach.
Yeah.
You get to keep up with what happens, and now you're parents, and then I'm keeping up with your kids, and it's a part of it's the best part of being a teacher.
Yeah.
Seeing the results.
That's right. Yeah, it's funny because now that she's been here, she talks to my daughter, and we went to the same school, and now she's like keeping in touch with me with what I'm doing and what she's doing now, what my daughter is doing. So it's funny, and it's lovely to see those kind of things. So you have a question for her. What was that question? The first question you had?
My first question that I have for you is, where are you from?
Oh.
Yeah, I just saw a picture in there that I don't know if you start over there. I don't know if it's in French or, because there's a picture that says that you went to Catholic Church High School.
I taught in a Catholic high school.
Oh.
That was my first teaching job right out of college. Marin Catholic High School, so I'm from San Francisco.
Okay.
I was born in San Francisco, and my mother was born in San Francisco, and my grandmother was born in San Francisco, and my sister was born in So the next time you go to San Francisco, are you the one who goes to San Francisco? Someone goes, no, Belém.
Belém.
She goes to San Francisco a
Very
lot.
often, yeah.
Yeah. So, but then, when you major in languages, you have a tendency to travel. So for my third year of college, which was Holy Names College in Oakland, California, I went to France. I went to Paris, and I spent a year.
Oh, okay.
And then for graduate school to do my master's, I went back to Paris.
Oh, nice.
And I did another year. But then I met my husband, so I stayed there, and I got married in Paris.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Everyone was dreams.
That's so romantic.
Yeah.
And then I was getting tired of Paris, so I said to him, we have to go back to the States. Well, he didn't speak English, so we came back here, and we had a little studio apartment on Thomas Road And I sent him to the Sullivan Language School, and we rented a TV.
Okay. Wow.
And I sat him down in front of Sesame Street, and he learned how to count, and he learned how to spell, and he learned everything from Sesame Street.
Oh, wow. Cute.
And then he got a job, and he did all of the surveying. This was a long time ago. This is 1973. He did all of the surveying along with other people for what's now the airport. There was nothing there. It was a little tiny small airport. And then he came out one day to the car, and he said, "I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be an engineer."
Oh, wow.
So he went to ASU while I worked. And then he got a job in California with National Semiconductor. And that sent us to Algeria in North Africa.
Wow.
So we were in Algeria for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Do you know where it is? Nobody knows where it is.
I know.
It's a gigantic. It's where the Sahara is. It's a gigantic country in North Africa. And my husband was from Tunisia, which is a tiny country in North Africa. Okay. So I got to meet my in-laws and everything.
So what language did your husband speak?
He spoke French and Arabic.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
And you?
French, English, and Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and then what happened? And then I had children, and we started, he was promoted a lot. And so then they sent him to a little village in France called Roussy. And I fell in love with it. And by that time I had 2 children. And so we ended up living there.
So you went back.
I went back. And we built a house there in Roussy.
Okay.
Little tiny, teeny village. And somebody said that it's where terrorists hide because nobody can find it. And we stayed there for 15 years, and we built a house, and I had 3 children there, and they went to school there and everything, but they didn't speak English. So then my children and I came back to Arizona, and they had to learn. They had to be in ESL classes. And the whole thing. So that's what happened.
So that's why you were like so, how do I say this? Like
strict, mean.
No. You know what? I'm gonna say something that it's gonna probably sound weird, but a lot of people have that impression from you, like that you were very strict and mean. And then I always said, she was not like that with me. Maybe you were not so smart in her class. Because I promise that I don't remember you being mean. I remember you were trying to teach us, to teach us about English. And it was hard for us because, I mean, for me, that I moved here when I was 15, it was so hard. It was like a different language, a different culture, different friends, different everything. And I'm gonna tell you something. I failed my English class in Mexico. Yes, I did. And I went back to Mexico and I went talk to my teacher in English. Now I was just like, you know what? Let's talk in English right now.
Vengeance is wonderful.
Yes. And then, so he looked at me and he was just like, oh, I remember you. You failed my class. And then I said, oh yeah, let's talk in English right now. Yeah. So it was hard. Really, really hard. But for me to have you, it was just a big change in my life because I remember you were like dedicated to us. And yes, I remember you were like getting mad with other kids, but not with me.
It's the same experience with me. I had the best experience of you being my teacher. And I remember that a lot of the students were a little, they were just to play. They didn't want to learn.
They were annoying.
Or because you were a little strict, they thought that you were mean, but it was just
you were just doing your job.
You just wanted us to learn English because you had your kids going through the same thing.
Same experience.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was traumatic. I mean, it's a terrible thing to have to leave all of your friends, all of everything that you've ever known, and come to a place where you don't speak the language, you don't understand the culture. I mean, there's a big difference between the Mexican culture and the American culture.
Yes.
And I prefer the Mexican culture, but that's another day. But you know, it's culture, it's mentality, it's the way people do things, it's your values, and all of a sudden, you know, you're a stranger. And I just wanted you to succeed. I was so determined. It was a personal goal of mine that all of you were going to graduate high school. If it killed me, you were going to graduate high school. You know, and there were some kids. I wasn't mad at them because they didn't want to learn. I was angry because they were preventing other people from learning.
That's true.
And I knew that if I could get rid of them, get them out of the class, that everyone would succeed, you know. And you did.
I know, but you know what? I'm pretty sure those students right now, they appreciate what you were doing.
We're all friends on Facebook.
I'm pretty sure, because when we're young, we think that all adults are angry at us. And
they're mean. They don't understand us. Right?
Yeah, but it's really sad because I remember hearing that they were doing like rocks. They were throwing rocks through your portable. I think they were.
They were doing
maybe.
They were doing a lot of different things. It was just annoying. And the funny part, it was just that she was like opening the door, looking around, closing the door, and she continued with her class.
I know.
She didn't really care about them, you know. She was just like,
I remember myself, you saying something nice about some of the kids that were nice to you. Like saying that they have a good pronunciation or stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure they now appreciate that from you.
Well, everybody was so smart. You know, that's the thing. You were all really, really, really smart. And I knew what you were capable of if you would just, you know, stop being teenagers, which is impossible. I mean, you know, teenagers worldwide are just so annoying. And not to me, but they, you know, teenagers sabotage themselves.
yes.
You know, they cause problems for themselves. They don't cause problems for us, the people who are being mean and trying to get them to do something. But I had very high expectations for you guys because the things you said and your sense of humor in particular made me understand that you were so much smarter than a lot of the other kids. A lot of the other kids. You know, those gringos, you know, you just were. Your sense of humor shows an intelligence that other kids don't have. It's very sophisticated. And so I just used to say to myself, you know, I know they can do this. And you did. You know, I was right. Let's face it. So
it was fun. It was just like, you bring me back memories, and it was just funny. One of the memories that I have is that I was in a hallway. I was just walking with the past was my boyfriend, and then you look at him and you said,
"Oh my God,
is this your boyfriend?" In front of him. Is this your boyfriend? And then I said, yes. And then she was just like, I don't like him.
Did I say that? Really?
Yes. And then he looked at you, and then I said, okay, get rid of this. No, I don't like him. He's bad. And then she just keep walking, and then now I look back and I was just like, she was right.
She was right. You were right.
He was a big troublemaker.
Yes.
He was a pain in my side forever, and I always had him in my class. You know, he never went on to other classes.
They kept failing. That's why.
Yeah.
I knew some friends that were failing your class, and they kept going back to your class.
And
so I was like, if you don't want to be in that class, why
Just
don't you
change it? Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it. Learn English. That's why you're here.
Well, you know, I kept up with the grades. I had a grade book that was very structured, you know, and we had a problem because a lot of my students didn't show up for a long time. You know, they would go for days and days and days, and I knew they weren't sick because I would call home. Mm-hmm. And the parents wouldn't be aware that they weren't at school. There was a complaint about the grades.
Okay.
With the principal. And he called us, all of us, and said, what can we do about this? And so I showed him the attendance, and I said, this is what you can do about it. If you have to send someone to their houses, you know, because we could do that because you were underage. So, you know, they could send somebody from the school and say, you know, under 16, get back in the class. And I showed the attendance to the principal, and I said, you know, at the next parent-teacher conference, I can put this up on a projector and show them who's not coming. Oh no, we can't do that, you know. And I said, well, fine, but it's not the teachers, it's the students who don't show up. You know, this is a big secret. You don't say anything against the students, you know, because, but I knew that was a problem.
Yeah, but the other teachers, I'm pretty sure the other teachers had the same problem as you.
Oh, of course they didn't. No, the kids didn't come to school. And it's, you know, and it wasn't safe either because North Canyon isn't in a great neighborhood. You know, and we didn't want the kids wandering around the streets, but the principal actually said to me, okay, take all of the F's and make them a D, and take all the D's and make them C's. And I said, sure. And I didn't do it. You know, I would never do that, but, you know, he wanted to save face, and he wanted to say, because ESL teachers...
But they didn't deserve it. How are you going to do that? Yes, we got
I had straight A's in your class. That's not fair. It was not fair.
She couldn't give you more than an A.
Yeah.
I remember I wasn't really good at school because I never liked school. My sister, she loves school. When I asked her, hey, can you pass me the homework? She was like, no, you have to do it for yourself.
Good.
And then I was always like crying and see, because I regret that because I didn't probably take that chance to learn better, but I never liked school. So I was like hiding behind someone, like I hope she doesn't see me, so she doesn't point me to go and to
go
the
to front, yeah.
to the front, or answer
Well,
that
stand up
question.
and read.
I was like your sister. If someone would come to me and ask me, hey, can you pass me the homework? I would say no, but they keep begging, and I would, okay, here it is, but you're not going to learn anything.
I know. That's what she said. That's what she said to me. Because I told her, how do you teach someone else or pass the homework to someone else and not to me that I'm your sister? And she was like that, like, cause for them, I don't care for them. I care for you. So you have to learn and do it by yourself. So that way you're not learning.
But just so you know, when I was teaching Spanish, I had to warn them, do not go to the Mexican students and ask them to do your homework for you. Because of course,
we can make business. We're good at business.
Yes, that's true. That's
Yeah.
I would know immediately because, you know, they would say things that, first of all, they would write things that we had not learned. First of all, I hadn't even got the first year students. And then it would be slang. You know, like, kind of, you know, I'm going to know immediately. And they did it anyway. They did it less. But I'd say, you know, I'm going to give you an F for the entire paper. I don't even care if it's only one sentence. But it was so obvious.
We're so stupid.
No, not you.
No. I mean, we're like in high school. We're so stupid. I mean, we make a lot of
air. My friend needs air.
Oh God.
I'm sure she's talking about you.
Okay, next question.
But nowadays, the kids are even worse.
Yeah.
Just so you know, the kids are even worse than that.
Yeah.
It's so hard right now to, I mean, I have a 5-year-old, and he's been having 2 different teachers during the year because they quit.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they keep just asking, if you know any teachers, I'm like, excuse me? Because they don't have teachers. Like, they don't want that career. First of all, because the pay, it's bad.
No.
There's
There's worse.
There's worse.
Yeah.
There's
Well, yes.
worse, and when teachers complain about the pay, I have to object, because if you go in right out of college and you're a teacher, by the time you're in your 30s or 40s, you're making a really stable salary. It's a stable job, it's a stable salary, and if you don't like teaching, you can do something else. You can go and be a counselor, but still be in teaching.
Oh, okay.
You can go and be, there are other things that you can do and still be in the same district with the same people.
For the same career.
Yeah, and the
Okay.
same career, and there aren't that many jobs that say that. There's a pension. Teachers have a pension, which not too many careers now have.
Okay.
There are so many things that are more important than just a salary.
Okay.
But the salary is fine. It is. When you get 3 months off in the summer, and you get 2 weeks at Christmas, and I've never.
So when you get 3 months on summer, you get paid.
You can, if you want. You have a choice at the end of the year where you can say, I'm going to get paid during the summer. Well, then your monthly checks or your bi-weekly checks are smaller during the year.
They prorate your salary.
Yes.
I work at a school for a year and a half, and even if I was part-time, if I wanted, they will prorate it for me, because my job was just for 9 months.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
But
it's a choice.
Oh,
But
okay.
nowadays, it's I saw a lot of teachers. It was elementary school, and I saw a lot of teachers having difficulties, struggling because of the pay. Like 3-4 years ago, they had all these. It was a campaign, I think, about the getting the teachers to gain more money, because
Was it the red shirts in
Yeah,
downtown?
yeah.
I had a lot of
I
friends
can
in that
remember.
thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I did saw a lot of teachers struggling. They were there early. They were the last ones to go. They were giving a lot of hours extra, and they were still not. And you know what? The parents are not as involved as they should in the education of their children, and that makes their children do not behave with their teachers.
Exactly.
Well,
And
is
that's
this-
why
Do you
they're
think
not
this
happy.
is like a recent problem? I'm sure that it's been this problem since ever.
But this generation, the crystal generation,
It's the worst.
it's the worst. Seriously, it's the worst. I saw personally some parents bring their kids to school and do this. There you go. She is a free spirit. I heard it. it. She's a free spirit. There
my
you go.
God.
Turn back and left.
They leave.
I saw some students hit the teacher, saying bad words, and you know what? They were kindergartens.
Yeah.
So can you imagine? That's part of the reason. It's not only the salary. That's part of the reason that some of the teachers are not happy.
That's about 90% of the reason.
Yeah.
Because, and as far as struggling is concerned, you know, if they're young teachers, they have student loans. I was 56 years old when I paid off my student loan just for my certification for teaching. And my, you know, I had to do a secondary certification, a middle school certification, a bilingual certification. You know, and I was 56 years old when I finally said, okay, that's it, I did it.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I was gonna say that because I saw that PE teacher that was teaching back then. He had a second job. He was cleaning pools. And then sometimes he will not even have money to buy himself a lunch. And some of the teachers were helping him, bringing him food to school because he was struggling. He was living alone. He was from another state and he had to pay rent and a lot of, I'm assuming the loans you're talking about. And I was like, poor teacher.
Or maybe he was not good at his financials.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what it's sounding like.
Yeah, kind of. I think
is,
so.
You know, Americans like stuff. They like a lot of stuff. Now, I don't know about him. I just know that a teacher's salary, you know, if you want to make money, you don't go into teaching, okay? You just don't. It's long hours, and the pay isn't good. But again, if you go in young, it's a very good salary by the time you're in your mid-30s. It really is, because you do keep getting, and of course, there are ladders. So with every class that you take, you get credits on that ladder, and your salary goes up. The salary part the salary part never bothered me because it's what I expected. You know, in public schools pay better than Catholic schools. What? When I worked in a Catholic school, I was starving to death when I worked in a Catholic school. But the problem, the reason that they cannot keep teachers is because, first of all, schools are becoming a dangerous place to work.
Yes.
Secondly, there is no support from administrators. They side with the kids, and it's one of the reasons it's a dangerous place to work is because a student can say anything. Recently, I just read it this morning in the Washington Post, there is a teacher who was awarded $5 million because a student said that she abused him. And it wasn't true. And they proved it. She had to go through a lot to get it proven, but she ended up with $5 million because a student can say anything. And that was a long time ago. I was substituting at Horizon High School. And we were in the library. I was teaching a French class, and a kid was getting, you know, and I very gently put my hand on his back because he was a disturbance. And he said, this is Horizon High School. So the kid, a freshman class, he said, take your hand off me or I'll sue. Wow. So they learn very young. It was a long time ago.
Wow.
And that's another reason.
Now it's even worse.
Yeah.
The kids don't get consequences.
No.
They don't get consequences.
No.
That's why the system is like that. Right?
It is.
It's broken.
There is no teachers. That's why there's no teachers.
That's exactly it. The districts have had a lot of lawsuits. They can't afford it, so they'll do anything to appease the parents. They're afraid. And as a result, the kids can do anything. And they do because they know it.
And it's also highly political. The government doesn't want to give like center money for the education. He rather gives money for the war, for arms, for other stuff that doesn't want to support our kids. They're the future. How they're gonna do that? They're leaving them outside.
Yeah,
we all have enough money.
Yeah.
This country has enough money.
Has a lot of money.
This state
for-
has enough money to have a perfect educational system.
Exactly.
It's just the priorities. But now you guys are generation what? Are you millennials?
X.
You're not millennials.
No, we are.
X?
Yeah,
We are
X.
millennials.
You're millennials?
Yeah.
Somos
So-
X, ¿no? No, millennials?
No,
Really?
because you're
We
not.
are millennials.
Oh, wow. I feel young now.
I think that's from 1981, I think.
40 years and older, their generations
X.
or
That's
X.
generation.
Yeah, we're not in the 40s yet.
Yeah.
We're about to, but not yet.
We're close.
But I was discussing Generation X because all three of my children are Generation X.
Okay.
And all of their friends are Generation X. And all of their friends' friends. And all of my friends' kids are Generation X. And I'm watching how they evolve. And a lot of them have been married. My daughter has been married for 20 years.
Okay.
She's 45.
Okay.
You know, but their marriages are more stable. They're better parents.
Mm-hmm.
They are smarter. They all have graduate degrees.
Okay.
They are making a lot of money. And I'm watching them. And it's consistent. So my point is that, you know, everybody has to die off and a new generation comes in. And I think that this generation, if they're going to teach you, they're going to do a better job than I did. And that, you know, now the teachers that are there now are, because they, I don't know, things turned out better for them. The millennials are the ones who, unfortunately, I mean, it's not your fault, but they're the ones who get prizes for coming in last. They're the ones who cannot be disciplined. You can't use certain words for them. This has destroyed our educational, because again, it's a monetary thing. Parents consume. And so they would rather side with the child against the teacher. And this is why you can't keep teachers, because teachers are afraid.
Yeah.
It's really not salary, because anybody can live on a teacher's salary. It's doable, you know, especially if you're married to somebody who has a normal job.
Okay.
You know, but to complain about the salary, you know, if you don't like the salary, don't go into teaching. But there are a lot of salaries that are worse.
Than that. Yeah. Yeah, and now that you're saying that, I mean, me as a parent, I try my best, you know, to educate my kids. And I know education starts at home. But I try my best to, you know, teach them manners and other things, right? Before they go to school, they already know the ABCs, the colors, and all those things. And you kind of get like in shock when you see kids that they don't know their colors when they go to kindergarten. They don't know their numbers. They don't know anything like that. And you're like, what are you been doing all these years? You know, I know you're little, but how about your parents? They were like on the tablets or their phones. You know, you just give birth kids and don't do shit with them?
Yeah.
Is that how it is now? Because it's just like the teachers are like, your kid is so smart. And I'm like, yes, I know he's really smart, but I know that, I mean, all my kids are really smart, but because I teach them, you know, I teach him sign language. I teach him a lot of things while I'm with them at home. And it gets me very, you know, surprised, like in shock to see a lot of the kids, they don't know anything.
Well, and it creates a bifurcation. So you have kids who come from parents like you guys, you know, who can do sight words and colors and numbers and all of that, and it doesn't take much.
No.
I mean, all you have to do is read to a kid before the kid goes to bed, and what they have on TV now. I sit in front of the TV and I watch these things that are available to my grandchildren. There's a middle school teacher. His name is Mr. DeMaio, and he teaches everything with a dumb, fuzzy puppet named Steve. have you seen Mr. DeMaio? He's on YouTube. He teaches science, math, and the thing is that he's funny. And my grandchildren sit there and they're laughing their heads off, but they also are learning so much. I mean, I walked in when my grandson was 3 years old. I walked in and he said, have you ever been to Palma de Mallorca, Nona? And I said,
What?
Where did you? Yeah. But this is the stuff that he gets off of the TV. He gets engineering. He knows about the, what's the reef that's dying? The Mariana Trench. He knows all about that. I didn't teach him that. If the parents, there's no excuse now, because if the parents are too busy or they're working or whatever, you can turn on YouTube. My grandson, I taught my grandson English with Muzzy because it's on YouTube.
Yes.
And we sat there and he did the exercises and he loved it just as much as you guys did.
Yes, it was my favorite part.
And it's new now.
Okay.
They've upgraded it, but it's not as, the expectations aren't quite as high as they were with the ones that we used with you. And so, and we went through the entire thing. I'm not saying that now he speaks English, that's not it, but between what he gets from books, TV now, which you guys didn't have, there's no excuse. Absolutely none.
You can find everything on YouTube, either good, worse, bad.
Like you say, some of the kids or some of the parents have their kids watch that type of things, and some of the other ones let them see whatever they want, which is just trash for them. They don't learn anything from some of the videos, like opening toys and stuff like that. They don't even learn anything with that. So it's like you said, it's two different.
Yeah, and so when you have a bifurcation, two roads going different ways, then you also have what we have now, which is racism, hate, all of the things, and you have extremes of people who are very progressive and people who sound like they came from the 18th century.
Yeah.
It's
so sad to hear that.
It is, and it all comes back to, you trace it back, and it comes back to education.
That's right. It is right. Well, I have a question for you. What was the hardest thing about teaching kids that had very little to not English at all?
That's all I taught when I went to Greenway.
Okay.
When I was at Greenway, the kids I started out with, we could only have, the bargaining agreement said that we could only have 15 students in a class. I had 36. They kept coming. I would start out with 3. Saul Montoya.
Oh, no way.
Saul Montoya.
They were just babies in 7th grade. I taught 7th and 8th grade mixed. Who else? Well, anyway, he just came to mind because I had 3 students at the beginning. And I would think, God, I'm going to lose my job. I can't have 3 students that came, And within 2 weeks, Dulce, Kwamea,
Belen's sister.
Sister-in-law. Alex Balderrama, I'm trying to
Alexander
all
Valderrama.
of them I had in 7th grade. They came from Mexico. And not only that did they come from Mexico, but they lived on the ranchos where the teachers couldn't always come to. It was, the distances were very, very distant, long. And so as a result, a lot of these kids didn't get to go to school every day. So not only did they not have English, they didn't have Spanish. They couldn't, their Spanish was off. So I had to teach them Spanish for native speakers. I had had to teach them their numbers. I had to teach them everything because their education was so spotty. It wasn't their fault. They lived in very distant areas, and a lot of the times their parents needed them to work.
Yep.
So when they came, they threw me in a classroom. Oh gosh, there was a ping pong table in there, a TV, a Coke machine, and some sofas.
Wow.
This is your classroom. And I said, no, it's not, you know. And I took my kids, my 3 kids, and we spent the weekend getting blackboards in there, working with the janitors, getting everything in there with desks and everything. And we did, Muzzy was a big help.
Yeah.
It taught them their numbers, their colors, all of that stuff. We did those races to the board where they would have to translate. You know, it was mostly games because everybody can learn. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if your parents, you know, those parents didn't have educations. That wasn't a concern. The concern was getting them interested and getting them to show up every day. And they did. At Greenway in middle school, they showed up. And the ones who were in 7th grade were the most enthusiastic.
Okay.
They were, gosh, I remember them like they were babies. And they would come in, you know, they would come in the middle of the year and they'd be like, oh my God, you know, who else was in there? And we would just, you know, but all of the other kids would surround them.
Oh, okay.
And they would have a family.
Yeah.
And of course there were other Mexican families and everybody lived in the same neighborhood. So they kind of had a welcome committee, and there was the church that helped them.
Oh, okay.
And then I had a big classroom, big classroom in the special ed department. It was 2 classrooms.
Okay.
And so there were 2 offices. And so I asked for donations. You know, if you have anything, just dump them in that office and I'll clean it. And all of the kids could go in there anytime they wanted.
Nice.
And I mean, there were strollers in there were clothes in there was all kinds of stuff in there that they could take. And so it wasn't so much a challenge of teaching them, it was the challenge of making them feel less afraid and more welcome. And that was easy, I found out.
That was
You know?
beautiful.
Yeah,
That
it
is
was,
really
and maybe you remember him. And there was a little, I can't remember his name. There was a little Mexican boy who had Down syndrome, and he was very small. He was so cute, and he had little cowboy boots and bolo ties. His parents dressed him like he was going to a quinceañera or something.
Okay.
You know? And he was very sick. I mean, he had heart problems. You know, there are many things involved with Down syndrome. And they asked me if I would take him because he didn't speak English.
Okay.
And I said, sure. You know, he had problems. So we brought him in. Oh my God, the girls in my classroom. They had a baby to take care of. I didn't have to do anything with him. He couldn't learn because he had a lot of different problems. But boy, was he happy to be in that class with all of those beautiful girls helping him with everything. And, you know, so that was never a problem.
Okay.
It was more, you know, getting.
And where do you learn Spanish?
In school.
In school?
Yeah. High school.
You ended up teaching ESL teachers. I mean, ESL.
It's because it was the only place where there was a job. They told me immediately, if you teachers, because we were in teacher training, if you really want to teach, ESL is the place where there's nobody. And I said, okay, I had 3 kids to support.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll do ESL, fine.
Okay.
So you started with 3 kids and then you ended up having 36?
36 in the matter of a month. Because everybody was coming over the border.
Okay.
It was when there were lots and lots and lots of Mexican people coming over the border, and also from a few from
What year was it? Do you remember?
1990. Okay, wait a minute.
6,
One of the
95?
Something, yeah.
Could be.
I started at Greenway in 1994.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
And when did you decide to be a teacher? Well,
Probably when I was born, because I started teaching when I was 21 years old in a Catholic school.
She was struggling.
And I was struggling.
That is funny. Well, it was really nice to have you. It was a wish if we can do a second, second part.
I still have a lot of questions.
Me too. I have a lot of questions,
We'll
but
keep
we
them.
can just let's do a second one. Let's do a second. Thank you so much for your support. You are our #1 fan, and
You are. I am.
I have one more question,
Yes.
just one more. Do you have anything to say for your students, the ones that you had back then? What would you tell them?
Yes, I want to say that my younger daughter got angry with me the other day. She's 40. She shouldn't be doing this anymore. And she said, and when you were teaching ESL at ESL and we were growing up, you always called those kids your kids, and they weren't your kids. And I said, yes, they were. They still are. Get over it. I mean, can you imagine?
And we still hear
Those
her.
were always your kids. And I said, yeah, but you were too. You're not an orphan, but kids are kids.
Yeah.
And when you're a teacher, kids on the street are your kids.
Yeah.
Everybody is your kid. You're my kid.
That's very lovely to hear from my teacher.
Yes. Yeah, you have all our respect and love.
Thank
Definitely.
you very much.
Thank you so
very
much.
I'm grateful for it.
Thank you so much. And aquí terminamos con el show. Muchísimas gracias a todos. Recuerden seguirnos, darnos like y nos vemos la próxima.
Bye.
Hasta.